I think that it's definitely racialized when we are talking about Meghan specifically and her proximity to blackness because her mum is a black woman. Yes, Meghan identifies as biracial, but her mum is a black woman, and the press are very much aware of this. The institution is very much aware of this, and we know that the stereotype that's often afforded or inflicted upon black women is the angry black woman stereotype. Black women are seen as aggressive and intimidating. And so that same narrative is being used for her in this case. I don't know Meghan personally. However, I know that trope very personally. I know it viscerally, and that's what I see at play here.
Yeah, and Gina, do you go along with that? And that story is told, isn't it, in some of the language that has been used. It goes way back, some of the language that's been used about Meghan right when they hooked up for the first time.
Absolutely. I mean, you cannot deny the racial overtones of the reporting. The headline, almost straight out of Compton. She's from nowhere near Compton. And that is just harks to hood and ghetto and gangs and stuff like that. These kind of things that they were putting into people's minds, talking about her exotic DNA. You know, the difference in the way that she was depicted in the press, whereas when Kate Middleton eats an avocado, it's wonderful, it's full of omegas. And then when she eats an avocado, oh, it's linked to human rights abuses. And the whole bullying thing, whether these accusations are true or not, these accusations were from 3 years ago, and it's only now they're suddenly deciding to release that information and do an investigation. It's a transparent and pathetic attempt to smear her before this Oprah Winfrey interview comes out because they're scared of what she's going to say. The way that she's been covered has just been ridiculous. The angry black woman trope is so obvious. Oh, she's up at 6 a.m. sending out emails. It's awful. It's bullying. And yet, if she'd been waking up at 11, what would they have said then? Oh, well, we don't say they're lazy, but 11 a.m. She could not win in this situation.
But Gina, just to stay with you on that, I mean, people will say, well, the language was never overtly racist. You touched on some of the phrases that were used in the press. Unroyal was another one that comes to mind. You know, what do you read into that?
Well, unroyal. Why? Because she's come from a broken family. Did Prince Harry not also come from a broken family? Why is he not being called unroyal? It's underhand, it's passive-aggressive, but you know exactly what they're saying. They're talking about her DNA, they're talking about her mother's dark skin and her dreadlocks. You know, it was so obvious. It's obvious to anybody who's willing to look.
And Kelechi, I mean, people say in the United Kingdom, well, you know, we're sorry they felt they had to leave. And what is this about racism? A lot of people I've heard say, well, we didn't even know that Meghan was black. We're not racist.
The issue with the issue with the UK is that I think that we are dealing with a deep malaise that has festered. It's at the very core of our society. Our laws are built upon them. The very institutions and systems that we know wholeheartedly are built upon racism. The very great in Britain is the number of great atrocities that were committed, all in the name of empire. So really, when we talk about, for instance, Meghan being a bully, quote unquote, then I feel like who is the true bully? You know, for us to have the monarchy, to me, it's a representation of the colonization that's taken place that we've renamed as the Commonwealth. That is a legacy of bullying pretty much most of the world. So if Meghan were in fact to be a bully, I don't know her, but if she were in fact to have been a bully, would she not just be exacting the very narrative that has upheld the monarchy as we've known it throughout the centuries? I don't know. But I understand that the way that the media have been talking about her, that can affect somebody's mental health. We know that she recently had a pregnancy loss and now she's expecting another child. Surely we shouldn't be so aggressive towards her, but that doesn't seem to matter. Her, you know, her livelihood, her safety, her protection doesn't seem to matter to the British public. So when we say, oh, well, we're not a racist country and I didn't even know she was black. Well, no, we know her mum's black. We saw her mum at the royal wedding. And I think that it's those narratives, it's the kind of systemic gaslighting that we're seeing nationwide that's allowing for this to happen.
OK, I'm glad to say we're joined now. Well, sorry, Gina, please come in on that. But we've got another guest joining us in a moment. But Gina, please.
What I was saying is that this whole notion, we didn't know she was black. The language that has been used, Eamon Holmes on British TV called her uppity. Now, if you know the connotations of that word, the word uppity was a word used by white people to talk about black people who were acting above their station in being able to speak properly and being able to read and stuff. And for him to use such a word is laughably racist. And for him to then say that he didn't know what it meant. If you're going to use a word on national TV that you don't know what it means or what its true meaning is, then maybe you should look it up before you use it. So don't tell me that there are no, or we didn't know we were racist. It's absolute rubbish. The problem is everybody looks at American racism and thinks, oh yeah, American racism is so into your face. British racism is just more cleverly done. Americans brought black people from Africa and put them in plantations in America. It was very much in your face. The Brits and Europeans hid it. They did it on Caribbean islands. They hid their dirty deeds, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And it still happened. And this is why we have a problem with discussing racism now, because they've spent so many hundreds of years hiding it so well.
OK, and look, we've been joined, I'm glad to say, by Shola Moss-Shogba. Mimu, very good to talk to you, Shola. Come on into this conversation, and you'll have heard what we've been discussing, some of the tropes, particularly racial tropes, surrounding Meghan Markle. Give me your views on that, and add in here, there's also a rather traditional sexist one as well, isn't there, of the gullible man being led astray by the powerful woman.
Let me just say, first of all, that my sisters, Gina and Kelechi, are absolutely on point. And let me just add to what they've said. The level of idiocy from the caucasity of particularly those of the British media, has reached the levels of utter, ridiculousness. I mean, when we think about the fact that Meghan is being treated worse, think about it, worse than somebody that's actually committed a crime. And the way they deny that race has something to do with it is truly ridiculous. People have to understand that Black and biracial people of Black heritage, race always plays an issue because racism intersects with other forms of inequality that they experience, okay? We don't need to write it on our forehead. Those who go, well, show me an example. What's wrong with you? Are you blind? Can't you see? Are you illiterate? Can't you read? What is it that is right in your face that you refuse to deconstruct? I mean, do we need to send you back to school? I'm afraid that even if we do send you back to school, even if it was one of the top, like Eton and Red, you still come back the same. The point here is Meghan Markle right now is being used as an example of what happens to you if you don't fit the mold. And the three Black women you see on the screen right now, we're examples of get off her back because we will not tolerate this nonsense. When you do that to Meghan Markle, of course you're doing it to us as well. The reason why the British press is getting such backlash is because we've seen this happen before, not just to Meghan, but to us. We know what it looks like. The writing is on the wall. And when you have all these comments around Prince Harry, can I just say Prince Harry is the husband to Meghan that Prince Charles never was to Diana. And that's saying something. That is saying something right there. This is a man who's understood that history can repeat itself. And it's like, you know what? Like Nigerians would say, prevention is better than cure. Okay? So right now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm actually tired. And I think a lot of people are really sick and tired of the toxicity. And I never really talk about the royal family. But right now, I have to say the firm is seriously ticking me off. I know for a fact there is no way Kensington Palace or so-called royal aides can sneeze without royal approval. So how in heaven's name is it that days before this big old Oprah interview, all of a sudden they're regurgitating, repackaging claims of bullying that happened a couple of years ago. And all of a sudden, Buckingham Palace is going to take investigating. How does that happen? Why didn't you investigate it in 2018? What happened then? What happened with actually going through a thorough investigation? What people need to understand is that when it comes to Black people, especially Black women, accusing us of being a bully is just as bad as saying that we're guilty. We are guilty until proven innocent. And enough is enough with that. OK, listen, I've got a last question for you. Well, I suspect it will be, and it's following on from what you've all been saying and the point Shola's making there about the royal family. Let's flip this round. And Gina, do you think they've therefore missed a real chance here to genuinely signal that they're modernising, they're changing, they're listening, and in some sense atoning for past sins?
Yeah, they missed a massive opportunity. They got a black woman in the royal family. They had all they had to do was stand up for her. That's all they needed to do, is to stand up for her against this onslaught by the press. And it was an onslaught. You know, the fact that a BBC presenter felt like it was okay to post a picture of a chimpanzee when her baby was born. If they'd only stood up for her, then they would have won the hearts and minds of everybody. And they chose not to. And now they're choosing to attack her days before this. It's pathetic. It's transparent.
And Kelechi, you talked earlier about the empire, the role, obviously, of the British royal family in that. Same question to you then about a missed opportunity here for a modernisation of the royal family.
Yeah, I mean, what are we modernising? We're modernising rape, pillage, theft, and then displaying it in the British Museum. What were we really modernising? I think that I'm actually glad the way that all of this is playing out. I obviously wouldn't want that kind of the pain that Meghan has had to endure. Surely not. However, I do believe that we are seeing a crumbling of the monarchy.
The attacks on Meghan Markle have never been about anything other than race, power, and control. From the moment she stepped into the royal spotlight, the media's agenda was clear. Paint her as the villain, distort the narrative, and silence her at all costs. But let's be real. Meghan is not the problem. The problem is an institution and a media machine that refuse to accept a strong, intelligent, and compassionate biracial woman standing in her power. Exotic DNA? Straight out of Compton? Uppity. The coded racism has been relentless. And let's not forget the blatant double standards. Kate eats an avocado, she's wholesome. Meghan eats an avocado? Suddenly, she's linked to human rights abuses. The hypocrisy is sickening. And what about the so-called bullying allegations? Fabricated, exaggerated, and conveniently timed right before the Oprah interview. The real bullies are those trying to destroy Meghan's character while protecting the ones who truly deserve scrutiny. And let's talk about Prince Harry, the husband King Charles never was to Princess Diana. He chose love, protection, and family over blind obedience to an outdated system. And for that, they call him weak? No, that's what true strength looks like. The smear campaign against Meghan and Harry has been relentless, but guess what? It's failing. They are thriving, making a real impact, and proving every hater wrong. If you're tired of the lies and support Meghan and Harry's truth, make sure to subscribe to Royal Sussex Squad. And if you love what we do, hit that super thanks button to support the channel. Let's stand up against the hate, together.